Hello, men. Hello, MGTOWs. Hello, MRAs. I wanted to talk a little today about the dowry system and how MGTOW thinking may change everything in the world, and it rubs against everything we believe in society, or everything at least we are taught in. But we can look back at ancient societies and see the dowry system as evidence of how we got things all flip-flopped and how wrong Western civilization is. Used to be, a man had a few daughters, and what they were is what Barbarossa would call extra humans. These extra humans have cost unless they have value, and the value of a female is in that kind of situation and farming cultures and traditional cultures is to do the dishes, wash the laundry, tend to the animals, do things like that, and that's the only way a female gets her value, unless she goes to college, and at that time colleges didn't exist, or if she had a real talent or a value, she would get something for that. But if you have 4 daughters, 5 daughters, if a man produces female children instead of male children, he's in trouble in that kind of society, because you need male children to run the farm. You need male children to do the work. And generally it's knowledgeable to all in them kind of societies that you can't get a female to do that kind of work. So generally what you get is 4 housekeepers, and you don't need 4 housekeepers, you need 1 housekeeper, and that becomes a problem. So what would happen in these typical situations is the male would come to court the female, and the father would make an arrangement, and the father would give the male 2 sheeps, a cow, or a dog, or whatever, for the male to take that female off of his hands, because he knows one thing. He knows that's an extra human right now. It's an extra human mouth, and he can't afford it, and what he's doing is giving away a bill to the male. Now, in America, in Western societies, and I see this all over Pakistan and that, we've got this flip-flopped, that the female has some kind of value. And we're fed to society that she has some kind of value, and she's going to go out there and she's going to do the work, and she's going to take on a responsibility and be of value to you. But we find most often that the female has no value. She can go to college, and she can do this and she can do that, but she's going to get pregnant, and she's going to probably quit her job as soon as you provide the wealth and protect her provider status. All that value that was perceived diminishes. And we see this so much in our society, the illusion that if a man has 4 daughters, in this case, in the Western society, what he's saying is she has sexual value, and he's selling a prostitute, and that's when it becomes offensive. That's when it becomes really offensive. If you send your daughter off into the world and she's a productive human being, and someone wants to mate with her, or take on a family situation with her, and she has value, then she has equal value. She doesn't have an overage of value. She has no sexual value. If you're looking at it like it's a sexual value, if you're a father and you're looking at getting rid of your daughter because of some perceived sexual value, you deserve a bullet in your fucking head. You're a sick motherfucker. But in Western society, that's what we do. We look at this as, we as males, and MGTOWs don't fall under this category, because we're saying generally that we believe that most women have no value, and we're not going to fall into that trap of believing that a woman has that kind of value. And that's where the trap is. That's essentially where MGTOW starts. But we're kind of afraid to say this because it goes back to some ancient dowry system that just so happens to be a truth in life. It just so happens to be a truth, but the other 54% of society here does not want to hear that truth. And we got these pussy hounds and these white knights that will not permit you to say that truth because they're perceiving their daughters and their females in a sexual value, which is prostitution. And that's where it's offensive. That's where it becomes very offensive. And I can see the female point on all this. When a male perceives a female as having sexual value, and I hear this so often in MGTOW, that we're MGTOWs, but we're still dating, and we're perceiving a female as only having sexual value. That is not a value at all. You can buy that on a local street corner most of the time. That's prostitution. Now, why any MGTOW? And it becomes offensive to me when I hear MGTOWs talk like this, because it becomes just offensive to lower and degrade yourself to wanting to take on an extra human for sexual value when you know the cost is going to be this and this and this and this. And let's talk about genealogy here. If you're taking on a female from a male that had 4 daughters, chances are, unless your genes are override to determine the sex of this, and you have dominant genes, and you come from a long line of men, and maybe the ratio in your family is 1 woman to 4 men in birth, she is going to have nothing but female child, and then you take on an extra burden. And you might want to think about this if you are thinking about that traditional lifestyle and taking on a female. You better look at that man, what that man produced there. If he produced 4 daughters and no sons, that's what you're going to produce. Or if your family genealogy says that, you're just going to produce daughters. And then you become on the reverse side of this thing, and you might not want to think about selling your daughter off as a prostitute. No. I don't think of my daughter as that. I think of my daughter as having some worth. Okay, at this time I wanted to stop and draw some simple parallels here to you, and in how things got all flip-flopped. We look at the 1800s and we look at the Industrial Revolution, and we hear a lot of MGTOWs say, well, the Industrial Revolution had a lot to do with the way women act today. And they're right. This is called the Age of Romanticism. It is it's due to the Industrial Revolution. It was also a revolt against aristocratic social and political norms known as the Age of Enlightenment, and a reaction against the scientific rationalizations of nature. So it's a reaction against nature. When we talk about the dowry system and the female having no values, we're talking about simple nature. So we get embodied with this idea of visual arts, music, literature, and the major impact of history and historiology and education and natural sciences in a political system. And we know that now, and MGTOWs are waking up, we know that now is cultural Marxism. So what we're really talking about here is Romanticism, the movement, which validates intense emotions and authenticates this idea of value on the romantic and the subliminal and the sublime. Look at this thing very, very, very scientifically, man. If you should, and you should think about this thing, not a romantic view. That's what we are losing right now. That's what we see men losing right now. We can look at classic narrations and strong recourses in history, like a Zeitgeist and that all that stuff, and we can see how terribly awful, terribly destructive the Victorian age was. And you can look up Victorian age and kind of get this idea in your head of arts and culture influencing our society. And we see this. Sandman just did a video on value. And what he was really talking about, useless. He was talking about Aaron Clary's book, and he was talking about picking your skill in life. He was talking about picking your profession through college, and how college uses romanticism and the ideas of romanticism to skew your view on what's important in life. Taking a trade and learning a trade is a good thing. You always need a plumber, you always need an electrician, you always need a painter, and to some point you need an artist and a musician, but you have to have the skills to do that, and don't get fooled. So when MGTOWs go out upon this world, we're simply saying that I can see my value as a man, I can see my earning capacity as a man, but when I look out at this thing, I see the end result of a lot of worthless females and a lot of perceived value where there is no value. And sexual value, take it and weigh it in your hand, and it weighs nothing compared to the dollar bills that you're going to have to spend to keep that princess in your house. And that's what you are buying. You are buying a princess that's going to cost you money. Now, I would like to think about this in a simple dowry system. MGTOWs, when you go out there, if you're considering this thing, think about it in a simple dowry system. Does she have value? And that's all I wanted to talk about today. And I know it sounds I know what it sounds like, but MGTOWs, we have the ability now to choose. You are choosing not to. But you're also saying one thing, is you're saying that men, you're telling all other men, when you choose to be a MGTOW, you're telling all other men that, hey, our dowry system is all screwed up here. We got it backwards. Why would I take on an extra human cost with no talents and no reasonable abilities and no skills, and pay someone 2 sheep and a goat to have that? That's ridiculous. I'm just walking away. Thanks a lot.